There are 2 new warnings.
Taiwan now, hit by its biggest earthquake in 25 years. The government saying at least 9 people have died and more than 800 were injured. This is when an offshore earthquake struck the east coast of the island. It was a magnitude 7.4 and the deaths all occurred in Hualien County. That's a mountainous region near the epicenter. We can take you live there at the moment because search and rescue operations continue to be underway right in the middle of Hualien. You can see here emergency workers and rescue workers at the scene. Heavy lifting equipment there too because some buildings have come down. This is a remote, quite mountainous region of Taiwan, and there is damage that has been done to this area that will take weeks to repair, including some damage to infrastructure as well and to rail lines. But there were tremors felt right across Taiwan, even in Taipei. We've seen lots of videos that show buildings shaking violently. There have been aftershocks as well, about 100 of those. That's been really scary for people who live in Taiwan. Let's bring you the latest from there with Rupert Wingfield-Hayes.
This is the moment the quake struck a Taipei TV station in the middle of their morning news. The shaking was intense and prolonged. Buildings across the city swayed violently. Cupboards were emptied, furniture toppled. This construction site, this big building behind me here under construction, a massive piece of either construction equipment or steel came off the top of this building this morning during the quake, crashed into the building beside it and then down into this alleyway behind where you can see some workmen now. They've closed off that road. Remarkably, no one was injured, no one was on the street there at the time. No one in the Taiwanese capital has experienced anything like this in a quarter of a century. Many young people have never felt shaking on this scale.
An earthquake hasn't happened in a long time, so it felt really terrifying.
On the east coast in the city of Hualien, the shaking was much stronger and the damage much more severe. People on their way to work watched in fear and awe as a partially collapsed building was left leaning at a precarious angle across this intersection.
Whenever our team moves, the building becomes unstable and they have to find something to hold on to ensure their safety before pulling people out.
But it is the landslides that have unleashed the greatest terror. The east coast of Taiwan is a rugged landscape of high mountains and deep valleys. The quake triggered hundreds of landslides that came roaring down into the valleys below. This is where most of the more than 700 injuries must have happened. People would have had little warning and nowhere to escape. Taiwan has done much to strengthen its buildings and infrastructure since another huge quake killed more than 2,000 people back in 1999. This time, few buildings have been brought down and the death toll is so far mercifully small. But there is little that can be done to stop a mountain from falling into the valley below. Rupert Wingfield-Hayes, BBC News, in Taipei.
So rescue efforts continue, including for dozens of people who are trapped in road tunnels after the quake struck. We can show you this image that shows the entrance to one of them. On the left, it's a picture taken last year, and on the right, this is what the tunnel looks like today. 60 people are believed to be trapped inside one of the tunnels, including 4 minibuses full of hotel staff. They appear right now to be unreachable by phone. So late in the evening in Taiwan at the moment, they'll be hoping that there are a few aftershocks in the night, but those rescue efforts continue and we'll keep you up to date with those. Gregor Stewart Hunter is in Taipei and he told me about what it was like when the earthquake struck this morning.
It was the feeling of being lifted up by someone and shaken. And then even once the initial shock had died down, the rest of the morning was spent with a series of aftershocks in very quick succession, some as close as 5 minutes apart. And when I checked the news and realised that the epicenter of what had felt like a very powerful quake was actually in Hualien, my jaw hit the floor. I thought, you instantly knew that was going to be a really, really big quake, and it seems that's been entirely as it was.
The quake is huge, the biggest in 25 years, and we've got hundreds of people injured, as well as hearing reports of many trapped. Not so many deaths yet, and let's hope that figure doesn't go up. But what are you hearing in terms of reports of damage, particularly to infrastructure?
Yeah, I think the infrastructure has been one of the most obvious ways that the damage has shown up. Links into Hualien itself have been damaged quite severely. Some of the railway network is down. Some of the tunnels have collapsed, which means that actually physically getting in and out has become quite difficult unless you're going by air or by sea. But the damage extends beyond Hualien. In Taipei itself, there was suspension of the city subway services in the morning, and the high-speed rail operator announced that there were going to be delays up and down the length of its line, which runs down the opposite coast of the island. So quite severe delays to infrastructure.
Snap your W2 and
Wake up this morning, there's been a major earthquake in Taiwan overnight, causing massive damage there. At least 9 people are dead and hundreds have been injured. Major transportation links have been cut. We'll have more on all of that in just a moment.
But we begin here in the U.S. with the second day of severe weather affecting millions of people. Extreme winds tore the roofs off of houses and snapped trees in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, where at least 10 people were hurt. There were a dozen of reports of tornadoes touching down from Alabama all the way up to Ohio. That includes the small city of Sunbright, Tennessee, where we find Dave Malkoff today. Dave, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Nate. Look at this car. It was crushed when a large building came down right in the heart of the city. I just talked to the National Weather Service in the area. They say that there was at least 15 to 20 minutes worth of warning for the families here. But look at all of this. Nothing can really prepare you for something like this. And this is just a small part of a big day of bad weather all across the country.
Holy! Destructive and powerful winds barreled through parts of West Virginia Tuesday, including downtown Charleston, and to the west in Hanging Rock, Ohio.
Campers on their side. Oh, dear Lord.
Violent winds decimated this RV park.
This literally took 15 seconds.
Those violent storms hammered a dozen states Tuesday, tearing neighborhoods to shreds. At the University of Kentucky in Lexington, the winds were so extreme, this student was knocked off their feet.
At 5:17, our first outdoor warning sirens went off across the city.
Violent storms around Louisville left behind so much damage, the area now has a huge cleanup project to tackle.
I will be declaring a state of emergency for the entire Jefferson County.
The high winds not just causing damage to homes and businesses, but also mayhem on the roads from Louisville to Jeffersonville, Indiana, where big rigs proved no match for the winds, where this driver was fortunately able to escape. Back here in Tennessee, residents in Sunbright were shocked to see the wreckage left behind.
Well, it's just a gut punch to see your town and see these old buildings just demolished.
The tornado likely struck just after 5:15 p.m., leaving the local funeral home in ruins, and the owner stunned.
I really didn't think a whole lot about it. I was really surprised when I got up here and seen all this damage.
Yeah, that funeral home is right on the other side of this building. I just talked to another neighbor here who said that he heard the warning. He ran across the street. He got his neighbors, and they were almost sucked out of the house, but everyone survived, and nobody was killed.
There's one new severe thunderstorm warning for North Carolina.
Dave, thank you. For more on this system and a possible mess in the Northeast, let's bring in meteorologist Stephanie Abrams with our partners at the Weather Channel. Steph, good morning.
Nate, good morning. The biggest threat today will be the damaging winds from the Delmarva to Florida. We could also have an isolated tornado and hail. Rain will be off the Carolina coast by this evening. Florida is not going to be as lucky. At the same time, a snowstorm will kick off in the western Great Lakes, and tomorrow the Northeast is going to get in on the action. The snow is going to be heavy and wet. That means tough to shovel, great for snowballs. The storm is going to linger into our Friday. We need this double-digit snow as we're down 2 to over 3 feet in several cities. The system will also have 40 to 50-plus mile-per-hour winds that could take down trees, power lines, cause travel delays, and a wind chill. This coming Monday, it's not all about the total solar eclipse. A big chunk of the country will see a partial eclipse, and parts of the Northeast should have clear skies. For more in-depth coverage, you can watch the Weather Channel on cable or live on your favorite TV streaming devices. Nate, if you miss this total solar eclipse, the next one in the U.S. is in 20 years.
All right, so from the weather to the eclipse, our eyes will be on the skies. Stephanie Abrams, thank you.
We're going to turn back to that powerful earthquake in Taiwan with extensive damage, buildings left teetering on the edge of collapse. Take a look at these pictures. Officials say now at least 9 people are dead, hundreds others injured, and dozens still trapped in the rubble you see on your screen. This was a 7.4 magnitude quake centered near the island's east coast. MTS Tayab is following the story.
Former CIA official warns dead.
Parts of a building crashed to the ground as people across Taiwan were getting ready for the morning rush. Inside cafes and bars, destruction. Panicking patrons as the 7.4 magnitude earthquake rocked the island nation. The force of the quake was so powerful, some buildings tipped onto their sides as some of the smallest survivors were carefully rescued. Things just started to fall off the building, this woman says. Everything's damaged. In the eastern coastal Hualien City, rescue workers had to use cranes to free people stuck inside damaged buildings.
It was definitely a shock when it happened.
Yoli Sebon from California had arrived in Taiwan just yesterday.
We were actually sleeping, and we were definitely woken up by it because the whole room was shaking. We tried to find somewhere to hide under a table, but we didn't have that.
But it's the countryside which saw some of the worst damage. The force of the quake triggered serious landslides, blocking some tunnels, trapping dozens inside. But in Taiwan, earthquakes are common, and the initial panic quickly faded as the public were kept informed via cell phone messages, and school drills saw some children put on protective head coverings as they waited for the all clear.
Now, this is the most serious earthquake to hit Taiwan since 1999, when over 2,400 people were killed and hundreds of buildings were destroyed. And while this quake hasn't caused anywhere near that kind of devastation, it has certainly caused an awful lot of alarm. Gail.
MTS Tayab reporting in London. Thank you. We are learning new details today about the 7 aid workers from World Central Kitchen who were killed by Israel's military in Gaza. All 7 victims have now been identified, including an American. The airstrikes destroyed the victims' cars on Monday in what Israel claims was a case of mistaken identity. Holly Williams has the story.
World Central Kitchen has named Jacob Flickinger, a 33-year-old dual US-Canadian citizen, as one of 7 of its team members killed by the Israeli military in Gaza. It appears their convoy of 3 cars was targeted with strikes multiple times, even though the non-profit says it was coordinating its movement with Israel's military, which called it a grave mistake.
It was a mistake that followed a misidentification at night during a war in a very complex conditions.
These people are heroes.
The US government says it's outraged by the deaths, calling on Israel to carry out a swift and impartial investigation.
We've impressed upon the Israelis the absolute imperative of doing more to protect innocent civilian lives, be they Palestinian children, women and men, or be they aid workers.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the incident tragic and unintentional, also saying, quote, "This happens in war." Relations between the US and Israel appear increasingly strained, even though America is Israel's most important ally. Nowhere is the tension more evident than over Israel's planned offensive in Rafah in southern Gaza, where around 1.5 million Palestinians are sheltering, many in tents. Israel says it needs to destroy Hamas's remaining battalions. The US is warning against an assault without a credible plan to protect civilians.
After sending hundreds of tons of food aid to Gaza, World Central Kitchen has now paused its operations there. Its founder, the Spanish-American chef Jose Andres, wrote in a New York Times opinion piece, quote, "Israel is better than the way this war is being waged." Tony.
Holly Williams for us in Israel. Holly, thank you very much. Back here at home, former President Donald Trump.
Not Phoebe. So sorry about that, Mayor. But at least I got the title right, so that's all that really matters here. So walk me through some of the damage that was left behind.
There are quite a few barns and buildings, some small businesses that have the roofs that have been ripped off. There's substantial damage to some of the buildings. They'll probably need to come down and be rebuilt. The high school lost some greenhouses. But for the most part, we did have damage to a substation, which then we lost power for quite a while. But other than that, we have escaped severe damage. Mostly it hit more the rural area.
That is, of course, always a good thing to hear. Have you heard about any injuries as a result of the storm?
There were a few minor injuries, but nothing major. There were no need for rescues, but we did have a few minor injuries.
Have you ever seen anything like this before? You know, I know springtime, generally speaking, is when we start to see an increase in this activity. And, you know, obviously, I mean, nobody wants to walk right outside of their home and see downed trees or even power lines.
Yes. 50 years ago, we did have a major tornado come through and level one of our towns in the county. And I was a small child then, but I do remember. So we do take tornadoes pretty seriously here.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mayor Phoebe Thompson, all right, I got your name right at least the second time. Thank you so much from Newcastle, Kentucky. Next time I come down to Newcastle, I got to buy you a beer for messing up your name there, all right?
Thank y'all.
Well, friends, the final frontier in America's pastime are going to be teaming up for the eclipse. NASA representatives have been throwing out the first pitches for several games leading up to the eclipse. Fox Weather's Brandy Campbell joins us right now from Miami. Brandy, are you going to be throwing out the first pitch up at Rochester, New York?
I wish I was, but they probably don't want me throwing anything. But look, everyone is excited for the eclipse. They're expecting hundreds of thousands of people to head up to Rochester, where we actually have the Rochester Red Wings minor league baseball team. So we know the sun and the moon is the star of this event, and it's going to change really before our eyes. But the Red Wings, their baseball team, is also going to have their own transformation this weekend for the eclipse. Take a look at this video. It's a teaser that they posted about this transformation that they're going to have. From what appears to look like on the moon, they previewed their new logo, colors, and name for the team. They'll play 3 home games during the weekend of the eclipse as the Rochester Moon Rocks, and their opponents, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. They will also transform to the Space Pigs. The team's GM, Dan Mason, said minor league baseball is all about making it fun for fans, and this will be an intergalactic battle between the teams.
Our entire community is going to be going gaga over the eclipse.
And so many people that are coming to Rochester that weekend are here strictly because of the eclipse. So again, we want to give them a reason to come to a game while they're in town and help celebrate this event that is so monumental, not only for our community, but for the entire universe.
And they've also shared eclipse viewing tips with fans online, and they're selling tickets to an event, Solar Palooza. It's going to be an eclipse viewing party hosted at their field, Innovative Field. There'll be live music, arts and crafts, a scavenger hunt, space-themed food feeds shown on what they say are the 2 largest screens in the county. I asked Spikes, their mascot, about their transformation and what he's most excited for, as Dan Mason translates for him.
He likes to stay on the cutting edge of fashion, obviously, and it's not always easy to find the right cut to fit him, but he feels very excited about the way how sweet this new drip looks on him. He cannot resist the intergalactic space station sundae. So that's what that's your go-to for dessert. So I think that's what he's looking most forward to. And of course, welcoming all his friends. He loves people.
All right, and there's going to be a lot of people in Rochester. The city expecting between 300,000 to 500,000 visitors. They're going to have over 50 events. Some stores are closing down. School districts, most of them are actually canceling classes for Monday. And on top of that, on top of the events and school being canceled, I should say hotels, they're also nearly sold out, or the prices are extremely high at this point. But all of this done for the 3 minutes and 41 seconds of totality. So very exciting. I'll see you guys in Rochester live this weekend and Monday. Jason?
I'm sorry. I could not have been able to keep a straight face with the mascot who was doing all of this.
I love the mascot. He was awesome.
And then I'm also like, where do you get the...
I need him in every interview.
Yeah, I know, right? We need him here at Fox Weather to do the weather. The other thing is, where do you get those glasses from? Like, how much money do they spend on those eclipse glasses just for him to be cool in his drip?
He's got his own pair.
All right, Brandy, safe travels up to Rochester, New York. Thank you.
And at least 9 people are dead. Hundreds more are said to be injured after the 7.4 quake hit the island during morning rush hour. It's the strongest earthquake there in 25 years. Foreign correspondent Marcus Moore has the latest.
A massive 7.4 magnitude earthquake shaking the entire island of Taiwan at 7:58 local time, sending buildings toppling to the ground. The strongest earthquake to hit Taiwan in 25 years, leaving destruction in its wake. This building in Hualien collapsing on its first floor, while another was left leaning at an angle. With public transit shut down across the island, disrupting the morning commutes of 23 million people and sending them running for their lives. These videos showing apartments rocking back and forth, shelves falling over from the chaos. In Taipei, monitors in a newsroom could be seen violently shaking amid the ongoing quake, while a warehouse crumbled into rubble, unable to withstand the tremors.
Foreign correspondent Marcus Moore joins me now with the latest. Marcus, Taiwanese authorities now saying 70 miners are trapped in 2 coal mines. Hundreds more are trapped in tunnels and collapsed buildings. What's the latest on the search and rescue efforts?
Well, Diane, the search and rescue efforts are well underway, and as you can imagine, they're quite urgent. We know that, according to officials this morning, that 70 miners are trapped in 2 different rock quarries there. As we see pictures of the violent shaking, we understand that the 2 quakes that occurred this morning have left those miners trapped, and we don't know any other information at this point about how far in the mine they are, or whether officials have been able to make contact with them, but we do know that they are the focus of what's really been a massive response to this earthquake. As you mentioned, it happened right around rush hour, just a couple of minutes before 8 a.m., and we've seen the videos where people were in their cars, on motorcycles, or on trains, headed to various destinations when these 2 earthquakes struck, which, by the way, Diane, are considered to be shallow earthquakes. We're talking about the first one was about 21 miles deep. The other had a depth of 7 miles. And again, they're considered shallow, which means the damage is often much worse than what we find with earthquakes that happen much deeper.
Marcus, so far there have already been more than 100 aftershocks since the quake hit. How long can we expect these aftershocks to last, and do you think we could see more damage as a result?
Yeah, without a doubt, Diane. I mean, if you look back to the earthquake that we covered in Turkey a year ago, these aftershocks go on for quite some time, and they can be quite significant. The initial quakes were 7.2 and 6.5. You can have an aftershock.
There is one new tornado warning for Virginia.
Lesser intensity, but a 5.0 magnitude quake can still cause damage, and that's one of the big concerns that officials have as they enter a long holiday weekend known as the Tomb Sweeping Festival, where many honor their ancestors at burial sites. Because of the risk of aftershocks, authorities are urging people to stay safe.
This is a tornado warning.
New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:25 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Macon, or near Powhatan, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:25 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Macon, or near Powhatan, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:25 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Macon, or near Powhatan, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:25 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Macon, or near Powhatan, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning.
Of totality. This morning we brought in NASA Ambassador Crystal Beacham to tell us exactly what's going to be happening and just how rare this actually is. Crystal, thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Well, we're really excited. We've been talking about the solar eclipse for weeks now. We're just closer and closer. Tell us exactly how rare is this event?
So here in the United States, a solar eclipse occurs when the moon's orbit comes in between the sun and the earth, and the moon. If the moon is in the umbra, the small part of the shadow, you get a total eclipse. If the moon is in the further part of the shadow, which is called the penumbra, you get a partial eclipse. And then if the moon is in the further part of the shadow, which we call the antumbra, you get an annular eclipse. So for folks in the Arklatex, they'll be seeing deep partial solar eclipses, and for some places, an actual total solar eclipse.
Yeah, so right here behind us, we do have the path of totality that we're going to be able to see. So we are right here in this...
County over in central Virginia, and the National Weather Service seeing that this is going to be moving northeastward at 55 miles per hour. The main threat with this is going to be tornadoes, and of course we're really concerned about the threat for some flying debris. Other locations with this tornadic activity include Goodwin's Stores, Flat Rock, Jefferson, Provis, Gills Mills, Sublets, Fond Creek Mills, as well as those of you over in Bologna. So if you are in this tornado warned box, what I need you to do is to head to your safe spot that is away from any windows, and definitely want to make sure to head to the lowest level of your homes. Let's also go over to that severe thunderstorm warning, which is just south of here. This includes Vance County, North Carolina, and Warren County, North Carolina. This is going to be going on until 2:15 local time here, or I should say 2:45 local time. And this is part of a complex of storms that's moving to the northeast. And unfortunately, it's going to be impacting those of you over in Henderson as well as Warrenton until the 2:45 time. 60-mile-per-hour winds as well as some hail is also possible. Well, we have another Fox Weather Alert to tell you about here. The Heartland starting its recovery process after a massive severe weather outbreak yesterday. A dozen tornadoes were reported across 6 states. You're looking at drone video of a funnel cloud forming over in southern Indiana yesterday. It's always pretty cool to get this bird's eye view. Also, for those of you over in Missouri, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, as well as Kentucky and West Virginia, you were left with a trail of destruction that was absolutely massive. Over in West Virginia, there were reports of 92-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Multiple vehicles were flipped over in Indiana as some strong winds temporarily forced the closure of I-265 as crews worked to overturn that tractor trailer that you see right there. And unfortunately, for those of you over in Kentucky, this student got a lesson that they'll never ever forget. Unfortunately, this student knocked on its rear end.
There is one new special marine warning.
This is all because of the strong winds that move through there, anywhere from 40 to about 50 miles per hour. This is why it's so important that you have multiple ways of getting severe weather alerts. Let's give you a recap of also what happened in terms of those warnings yesterday. So all of these different yellow, red, and even green boxes are all the different warnings that were issued by a bunch of the National Weather Service offices. In total, 401 were issued. So the yellow boxes are where we had severe thunderstorm warnings, including the Dallas metro area and even the Springfield, Missouri area. Where the red boxes are, including those of you over in the St. Louis area, those were the tornado warnings. And we even had some green boxes that are indicative of the flash flood warnings that were issued. In total, 9 confirmed tornadoes, including in the St. Louis metro area, southeast of Louisville, and then just to the north and west of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, we still have survey teams that are out with the National Weather Service offices, so we'll likely see this number go up. But take a look at all of the wind reports as well. Over in the Huntington, Virginia area, 92-mile-per-hour winds. Look at Canningsburg, Kentucky, 102 miles per hour. Over in Ravenswood, West Virginia, 68-mile-per-hour winds. So there was a lot of wind here, and that led to the development of these massive hailstones. Look at Smithers, West Virginia, nearly 2 inches in diameter. Same for those of you over in Bloomington, Indiana. Well, the storm that spurred yesterday's barrage of severe weather across the heartland also has a cold side. As a result, portions of the Midwest, including Chicago, could be seeing snow. Let's go out to Fox Weather correspondent Max Gordon, who's over in Chi-Town. Max, it's just unbelievable to just see that. I mean, we've gone from sunshine and warmer conditions. I mean, we're talking about upper 50s to now it is chilly out there.
Yeah, it's been a weather roller coaster here in the Windy City. Right now, though, I can say it's solidly chilly here in Chicago. Temperatures in the mid-30s right now, and you can see we've got kind of like a rain-snow mix coming down along the shores of Lake Michigan. But hey, still looks kind of pretty out there, though, I gotta say, even if it is a gray day. It's been a pretty soppy morning commute, and it's likely going to be a pretty wet evening commute for folks here in Chicago, especially for those who walk to work. We spoke to one guy who still had a pretty good attitude about things. Take a listen.
It's a mix between snow and rain, so I don't complain. If it was pure snow, it would be colder, so you just need to be ready with your equipment, and then you're good to go.
Down to the south of us, about 50 miles in Kankakee County, Illinois. We did have some severe weather yesterday. The National Weather Service confirmed 2 tornadoes touched down. Luckily, there were no injuries. One of those tornadoes narrowly missed a mobile home park. Instead, it actually caused some damage to a water treatment facility. Here's one woman who went to survey some of that damage.
I've never seen nothing like it, and debris everywhere. I mean, it's like a mile down the road.
Yeah, some pretty scary scenes down there in Kankakee County, Illinois. Now, as far as the snow and the rain, that is the discussion for today, and that's what's causing some issues here in the Windy City, at least for the White Sox. They were supposed to play the Braves at around 1:20 p.m. local time. That game has been postponed. There's also supposed to be a Cubs game later on this evening, just after 6. We're going to have to see if that game is still going to be on, but the way things are going right now, I don't know if they're going to be playing any ball. Jason?
Yeah, Max, I just heard about the Mets Tigers. They are also postponed due to weather as well. So doesn't look like we're going to be getting in a whole lot of baseball action today, thanks in parts of this low pressure system. Max Gordon over in Chicago. Thanks, bud. Well, we are also going to be tracking the southern end of this storm along the Florida-Georgia line. You're looking at Savannah, Georgia, the home of 22 different squares. It's a beautiful place to visit if you've never been. Now, for those of you in Georgia as well as Florida, we are already starting to see the rain moving through. Matter of fact, speaking of Florida, you actually have a severe thunderstorm warning that's active right now until 2:45 for Hillsborough County.
There is one new special marine warning.
You see where it's going. You look at areas like Chestnut Oaks to 238, going to Bobsco country, that is 243, Huguenot Springs. And really what I've done is I've taken it on into Goochland County, as you mentioned. So you look at Mannequin Farms here, 244. And as you mentioned, many of the schools, Henrico, Goochland, letting out 250, 3 o'clock, 3:30. And that, if we just kind of reposition the map here, you can see what we're talking about. You talked about areas like Canterbury, Short Pump, over to Bridlewood. You know, you're in that area, the Dominion Club, and up into those areas.
So that's Deep Run High School.
Right, Glen Allen High School.
Glen Allen High School is going to be a little further up.
Right.
But you got Deep Run, you've got Glen Allen, you've got Hermitage High School.
Exactly.
You've got Short Pump Middle School over there, and Tuckahoe Middle School in those locations. And this is going just right now to the west of Powhatan High School.
One thing I am noticing is, you mentioned before too, we had a really good marking on shear rate, low level twisting. That has now kind of become a little bit broader and not as strong. Now that updates every 70 to 90 seconds, so I'm waiting for that next update on it.
Right.
But we are looking just general rotation. But that doesn't mean that we don't have problems here, because this could still be strong straight line winds.
That's what that's what I was talking about here with this notch that's right here inside this system. Okay, that's coming through, and in a way what we have, and if I widen the view out a little bit for you here, one of the things we have, you see we've got kind of a line that's developing through here, and the big fancy term for what is QLCS, which is quasi-linear convective system. It's a big, long, fancy word, but it's basically a squiggly line of strong thunderstorms, and you can get rapidly developing and short-lived tornadoes that develop along it. We saw this one beginning to form across the region just about 5 minutes ago, the signature that said tornado. So here's where the system is. Basically, the last thing, a river cliff, as you can see. You've got the forest, you've got Crozier over here, Fine Creek Mills, okay? So this is where they've got the big wedding venue right there, and here's the area coming through that's the bounded weak echo region, although it's not closed off in the back. So this is most likely indicating right here, this would be where we would have definitely downburst type winds going right through here right now, coming out of that system as it continues to move off to the east. Down here, this is probably potentially a hail signature, as you can see, because this is showing rainfall rates as you can see, on the order of 7 inches an hour. That's a little hefty. That's when you're starting to get up into the range that possibly indicates some hail. And then further off to the north, you see this now crossing the James River. Matt?
So, Jamie, what's really interesting is you're talking about the northern part. You look at the southern part outside of this, it looks like we might be getting some sort of outflow boundary because we've just picked up 2 pretty intense shear rate here. So if you're now in Moseley, as you work your way to Chesterfield County, over to the Halsey area here, you might be seeing and starting to pick up on those winds picking up ahead of it, kind of that downburst ahead. Maybe we have a shelf cloud out here, so this is something that we are going to be looking at. This is going to be very interesting as well. We'll have to wait and see. I don't see anything with velocity, although, again, if you look really roughly here, this might be something trying to form out near Skin Quarter. Again, because what we're looking at here, and I'll zoom in just a little bit more and let me clear that off for you and reposition that. If we grab our pixel tool, there, just jumped a little bit. It got a little bit tighter, too, there. Yep. I grabbed that one at 41. I grabbed that one at 15. So some low-level rotation and maybe some really weak circulation with that, JB.
And again, these are the ones that are going to develop very rapidly for us here across the area. And again, as we come down to the storm, as you can see, that's down by Hallsborough, Moseley right now, as it starts moving towards basically the southwestern part of Chesterfield County. So you're going into southwestern Chesterfield, relatively sparsely populated compared to when you get up to, for example, Brandermill, Woodlake, you get into the Foxes, you get out towards, from Hampton Park
Magnolia Green all the way through, as you mentioned, the Woodlake area. That whole area is just very dense. You're talking 250,000 homes in that area, probably a little bit less than that, let's be honest. A ton of people out there, so that's for sure something we're going to watch carefully.
So this area right here is okay right now because you're fairly far out. You're southwest of Chesterfield Berry Farm. Closest school to that is Grange Hall Elementary School. That's the closest school in that location right here. So you can see what's going on. Here we go. As we start coming in here, there's Clover Hill High School right there. As you can see, there's Brandermill. This is the back end, and of course, this is the other area we're looking at right now. This part of the storm possibly beginning to develop here. Scotts Fork, as you can see down there by where you've got the glider airport. That's where the glider people go and fly out of there, the big glider club.
So again, we came on the air, by the way, for that tornado warning in Powhatan. Still out there until 3 o'clock this afternoon. A lot of that has weakened, just to kind of put it for you, but we are still looking at the potential here for some rotation. Let's not forget about that. And when we look at the velocity in that area, it looks like, JB, these are moving so fast. Because we are about to get out of Powhatan, and as we said, cross the river. We're now in Goochland. This is where we're seeing our rotation there, right near Sublets and Boscal, if we just kind of circle right there. And I'll just grab this real quick here just to give you an idea. It's not that it's super strong, but 56 mile per hour, gate to gate, rough rotation sitting about 4,000 feet, and whether it comes down or not.
And the issue with that is, again, a rapid movement of the storms. Also, for the little bar on the bottom of the screen, take Amelia out of it, because I can see from that warning, Amelia has been cleared from the tornado warning. So we can tell you Amelia is out of the tornado warning right now. Here's what's going on again. Okay, here's the tornado warning that is in effect. Again, this is almost cleared out of it, so we should be seeing this warning probably coming to an end shortly. It may be dropped, it may be dropped in the next few minutes because this guy is just zipping off to the north. But now this means for our friends up here, Short Pump, eastern portions of Goochland County, okay, over into southwestern portions of Hanover County as you head up towards Rockville, you head up towards Montpelier, you head up towards Beaver Dam. My friend Pam Parrish, she hit the gym early today worried about the storm so she could get home. Well, Pam, these guys are coming right towards you in the next few minutes with some heavy rain and some strong downpours across the region. And you'd also notice, folks, we can get severe weather without lightning, okay? That is because of the strength of the storm. Upstairs, where the jet airliners fly, the winds are blowing almost 170 miles an hour. So that's basically giving a big exit. So anything going up into the atmosphere is just being sucked out and intensifies these things. But here's what's going on with the system right now. Again, very heavy rainfall rates, as we can see, associated with this storm. Again, look at these rainfall rates right here. So this is indicating either extremely heavy downpours, and again, I'm not in close on this, but maybe some small pea-sized hail in this. And sometimes you'll see little arrows on the system, and because these are low to the ground, but there's a lot of twisting going on in the atmosphere, you're not necessarily going to see these crazy arrows showing up like what we see out with the big storms out in the plain states that really give us a real good indication of what is going on with them. So again, short pump area right now, okay, here's short pump, and okay, there's 295 coming into 64. So again, we're over basically by Deep Run High School. We're over here by Short Pump Middle School. This is going sliding to the west, probably to the west of Short Pump Town Center right now. But again, this is going to slide up, and then of course upstream from this, this is going to be going into the western parts of Hanover County right now. There's Rockville right here with this storm, and again, widen it out, so it's moving off to the northeast at a good 45 miles an hour. So let's turn that on, and I got to turn around and draw it like this, take it off this way, slide it up in this direction. As you can see, a little too fast. We'll move it over here, 45 miles an hour, and you can see some of the locations that it's headed towards. Dover Run, Goose Point, Mount Olive Terrace, Centerville, Hickory Haven, all between now and 2:50 p.m. So that's just, just the next 6 minutes out there, because we've got every location turned on here for you. All right, widen the view out a little bit. The other thing that's gone on today, okay, we could see it on the big board. Okay, the warm air has begun to filter in over us. So basically a line like this, right through here, this is where temperatures are up to near 70 degrees in a few spots. It is in the 50s back here over the area. So this is the boundary that's sparking the development of these storms over us.
All right, so good news. The tornado warning for Powhatan has completely been canceled now.
Yep.
So they are not super concerned about this, which is great news.
Yep.
But we're going to stay on air. We're going to stay behind the scenes, continue to watch this, and if more warnings come, we'll be on the air instantly.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
So, all right, good. Warning has expired. So far, no reports of any damage. So we're going to wrap things up, and we are going to take you back to
There
regular
is one
program.
new tornado warning
Remember,
for
Central
North
Virginia,
Carolina.
you are under a tornado watch until 8 p.m. Stay with us for further updates and any storms as they break.
All right.
There is one new tornado warning for North Carolina and Virginia.
possible. It is more of an isolated risk out there, but it is a risk that we're watching. So as we go through tonight, you can see the active weather, this low kind of turning over the region, helping to really funnel in more of that intensity with these storms. And then up into the morning hours, Thursday, you've got snow up in the Cascades into Idaho, more moisture just continuing to stream its way through the Pacific Northwest. So I hope you enjoyed the quiet couple of days because things are going to be a lot more active for you here. As we carry on into Friday afternoon, still more rain and snow we're watching. High elevations, especially the southern Cascades, you're expecting to see some of the higher totals, 6 to 12 inches, even some isolated pockets. Up into the peaks could see higher totals than that. Idaho, a widespread look of 6 to 12 inches of snowfall for you at those higher elevations as well. Temperature-wise tonight into tomorrow morning, you're looking at lows in the 40s for Kennewick, 30s in Missoula, 40s in Boise. If you're in Lakeview, right on the cusp of that 30-degree temperature.
There is one new
and
special
over the next
marine
couple of
warning.
days, highs not budging a whole lot because we're keeping things gloomy, snowy, rainy. Temperatures are staying pretty consistent. Portland, low 50s the next few days, just a few degrees below what is typical this time of the year. Boise, you're looking closer to 10 degrees below average for the next couple of days.
This
Boise
is a tornado
extended
warning.
Through the weekend, you've got showers in store, hitting the 60s Monday, Tuesday, when a little bit more of that sunshine peeks its way through. Following some of that moisture inland.
New tornado warning issued for North Carolina and Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:47 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Norlina, or 8 miles northeast of Warrenton, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for North Carolina. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:46 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Norlina, or near Warrenton, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for North Carolina and Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:47 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Norlina, or 8 miles northeast of Warrenton, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for North Carolina. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:46 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Norlina, or near Warrenton, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for North Carolina and Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:47 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Norlina, or 8 miles northeast of Warrenton, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for North Carolina. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:46 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Norlina, or near Warrenton, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for North Carolina and Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:47 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Norlina, or 8 miles northeast of Warrenton, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for North Carolina. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:46 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Norlina, or near Warrenton, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for North Carolina and Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 2:47 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Norlina, or 8 miles northeast of Warrenton, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning. There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Virginia.
Oh, but rain in Salt Lake City. So it's further east, though, things are looking good, but we are going to see windy conditions and rain in Salt Lake City, Cedar City 42, and that rainfall. Denver, you are going to cool down, though, by Saturday 53, and then you'll see those 50s into your weekend. We'll be right back. We've got your top weather headlines coming up as there's footage from the earthquake that happened in Taiwan.
Parts of the mid-Atlantic and Florida facing a severe weather threat as this system barrels east, damaging wind gusts, thunderstorms, severe ones, and tornadoes, a possibility for a third straight day. The area is most at risk, with millions getting ready for the evening commute. Plus, winter returning to the Northeast. There are winter storm warnings in effect across the Northeast from New York over to Maine. And it's not just snow. Heavy rain and powerful wind gusts pounding coastal areas. We'll have live reports ahead. And a forecast for America's total solar eclipse is coming into focus. We're less than 5 days out now from this special celestial event where you'll be able to get the best view. It's all right now on Fox Weather Now. And a Fox Weather Alert, good afternoon, and thank you for watching Fox Weather. Right now, it's 3 o'clock on the East Coast, noon out west. I'm Ian Oliver, and this is Fox Weather Now. We continue to track what has been an expansive and powerful storm. This is just from this week so far. More than 400 severe weather alerts have been issued, 9 confirmed tornadoes. We had a top wind gust of 102 miles per hour. That was detected in northeastern parts of Kentucky. We've seen hail up larger than the size of a softball. We've got live pictures to show you. New York City, where we've been getting soaked, and the worst is still to come through this evening, tonight, and into tomorrow. Plus, we've got Orlando, where that line of storms is working on through. We've been watching some severe storms across the Tampa Bay area. Let's look live at Jacksonville and Virginia Beach. A severe weather threat honing in, as we mentioned, on the Sunshine State and the Mid-Atlantic. These spots right now, fairly quiet, but there's active weather moving in. This after storms devastated areas from the plains all the way through the Ohio Valley. This is a look at what could have been a tornado working through Charleston, West Virginia. Look at those big wind gusts. That was that video taken from the safety of what looks like a parking structure. And then here you can spot a tornado. That was in Kingfisher, Oklahoma. All of this, it's the same system that has left at least one person dead in Campbell County, Kentucky. That's just off to the south and east of the Ohio River. And now those storms are moving over to the East Coast. Let's take a look at what we can expect for the rest of the day. We've had this tornado watch in effect as that line of storms gets closer to the Atlantic coastline. But the Delmarva Peninsula down through Virginia, northern parts of North Carolina, that right there, right along the state border, is where we have the active tornado warning. So the extreme northern part of North Carolina. Now it looks like most of the cell has found its way into southern parts of Virginia. This is Lake Gaston, by the way. We've been watching some of the rotation in the southwestern flank of this storm as it moves off to the north and east. It's right in between 2 Doppler radar sites. So the radar beam scans this storm a little bit higher up. It makes it harder for us to sample what's happening at the lowest level of the thunderstorm, which is where a tornado, of course, would be. We could tell, though, that is a strong storm as it lifts farther off to the north and east from there, eventually getting closer to I-95, like what we're watching just off to the north of Richmond. That's directly over the interstate where 295 and 64, 295 is the connector, 95 runs straight north. Yeah, you've got this storm working through here. That one is bringing with it what could be some big wind gusts as well as hail. So yeah, that's what we're watching across Virginia. And then farther off to the south, yeah, that is the storm that's in Raleigh. This one right now, I'm checking in on the Fox Weather Alert System, does not have a severe thunderstorm warning with it, but it's producing torrential rain and likely some gusty winds working on through the Raleigh metro area. Then you head farther off to the south. We previously, across the northwestern part of Hillsborough County, Tampa Bay area, had a severe thunderstorm warning. That one was dropped at the top of the hour, but this is still a powerful line of storms working through central and southern parts of Pinellas County over on the St. Pete side, Howard Franklin Bridge, all 3 bay bridges right now seeing big wind gusts and heavy rain rolling through as that slides across the bay and into the southern part of Hillsborough County. That's going to be the trend. This is out ahead of the actual cold front, which is slowing down, not moving all that quickly off to the south and east. And with that, you've got some storms in the forecast through this evening, a few showers that could linger into the overnight hours tonight. That's midnight right there on the Fox model. By tomorrow morning, just some scattered showers down toward that portion of I-75 Alligator Alley where it turns west to east and down into South Florida. So this is the stretch.
There is one new tornado warning for Virginia.
The afternoon, the first part of the evening, with strong storms for the Tampa Bay area from north to south, really from roughly the I-4 corridor over the next hour or two, and then slowly farther off to the south and east. You can see where those storms were. Some of those areas are already experiencing them. So yes, into the overnight hours tonight, eventually those skies clear out and you see the temperatures dropping back down into the low and mid 60s. So an active day down in Florida. We'll be keeping an eye on that, as well as what's happening much farther off to the north across the mid-Atlantic. A couple of different areas with strong and severe storms. For a 3rd straight day now, it's been a very busy week. The first 3 days of this month of April, we've got severe weather slamming the eastern half of the country. Meanwhile, neighbors are slowly picking up the pieces after these same storms, the storm system, hit the Ohio Valley. The trail of destruction was extensive. 7 states, including Missouri, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and West Virginia, saw damage. Fox Weather correspondent Nicole Valdez is in Prospect, Kentucky. That's where multiple tornadoes left communities in shambles. Nicole, what's the latest there?
Well, Ian, just moments ago, we watched Governor Andy Beshear and his team move through Prospect. They've clearly been out here sort of getting their own eyes on the damage, the extent of it, checking in on people to see how they're doing after what was likely a terrifying night for so many across the Bluegrass State. We're talking about damage from this storm system in more than 20 counties. At least a dozen of those have already declared states of emergencies as they try to get resources in to help those who do need some help starting that cleanup and that rebuilding process. You'll notice a home here behind me. This is in the Huntington Creek community of Prospect, where part of someone else's roof has now pierced through the walls of their home. So this is just an example, just an idea of what kind of damage we're looking at here. This done by an EF1 tornado, according to the National Weather Service, where winds at one point reached about 105 miles per hour. This just one of a handful of them that moved through several counties. But not only are we getting a better look at some of the devastation, whether it's on the ground or in the air, we're also learning that some of these tornadoes actually moved over.
This is a tornado warning.
Over the Ohio River and impacted communities like Prospect, something that really those surveyors say they don't typically see. So somewhat of an indication of how unique this storm really was for so many. This one happened just before sundown yesterday, so there is still a lot of people who were thankfully up, who were able to see since the sun was still up, and maybe take cover when it was best to do so. We're looking at better damage here, I think, in comparison to what we typically see. These homes built a bit stronger, but still impacts widespread. We're talking about more than 12,000 people across the state of Kentucky that remain without power, and the recovery process just beginning. You hear chainsaws, and we've seen an incredible amount of crews in and out of this community to just start the beginning stages.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for North Carolina.
Ways to allow for people to move in and out. We know that's just step one, right? But there's, clearly a lot of people here who are just feeling the pain of it, but hoping to stick together through the next several weeks and months, Ian.
Yeah, Nicole, we've been watching your reports throughout the day. The folks there in Kentucky working fast to get their communities cleaned up. Brutal day in the Commonwealth yesterday. Nicole Valdez, thank you. We've also got Fox Weather's Jane Menard with us this afternoon, tracking not just the severe weather that we have ongoing, but also, Jane, the big impacts that we're expecting for the Northeast. Rain, snow, wind, coastal effects. We're going to get, though, to a new Fox Weather alert.
Yeah, we do have a new tornado warning that has been issued just outside of Richmond, Virginia. So relatively populated area here, about 70,000 people under this tornado warning. Radar indicated, so again, what we're missing is that confirmation from radar or with our eyes visually that we have that tornado in progress. But you treat it as such. This is going to run for us until about 3:30 local time. And again, it's just off to the north, but it does include a sliver of I-95. The core structure of where that tornado could potentially be looks just off to the east of 95, and it's going to continue off to the northeast at a pretty good clip. So with that severe thunderstorm warning in place and that tornadic potential embedded within it, we could still see damaging winds, large hail. Just to look at the timeline of some of our major cities in and around the suburbs that we could see this storm move into. So getting to that safe place, as many walls between you and the outdoors as possible, and remaining there through the duration of the warning. Now, these storms are popping up because we have this low pressure system that's kind of slingshotting its way up into the northeast, and we are expecting to see considerable rain over the next several hours. Our major cities, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, completely locked in through the evening commute, and especially overnight. One of the things that we're going to be noticing overnight is as the rain picks up, so does the wind. Now, there's a snow side to this. The worst of the rain comes tonight. The worst of the snow sets up tomorrow, and we haven't seen much snow except the last couple of weeks up across the northern tier. Better late than never, but here we go with those winter storm warnings, and we're talking feet of snow in the forecast. Most of this, though, of course, up across northern New England. Bouts of heavier rain, they're going to set up in pockets as we get into the evening with the transfer of this low pressure. I think we'll see some improvement with the rain coverage, especially from New York City southward as we go overnight and open up tomorrow morning. But into the afternoon, here's the big snow you see up across the northern tier, and that is going to spell some big problems. And while New England hasn't seen much snow this winter until just the last couple of weeks, this nor'easter is expected to blast them with days of heavy snow. It's wintry mix kicking off the snow event in Plymouth, New Hampshire, and that's where we find Fox Weather's Katie Byrne. Katie, it's spring. These folks know that snow can come, especially with this transition.
Oh, yeah, Jane, it's all a part of living in New England, right? But right now it's trying to snow, not there quite yet. Still have some rain. It's still above freezing as far as temperatures go. So once those temperatures drop and the winds pick up later on tonight, that's when we'll start to see that transition from rain
there
to
is
snow.
One new
but
special
for now,
marine warning.
We're seeing a lot of green. And interestingly, just 2 weeks ago, that's not what you saw. This was all covered in snow, as our own Nicole Valdez was here covering a storm that ended up dumping nearly 20 inches on Plymouth, New Hampshire, where we are. So this time around, we're looking at around a foot of snow from this system. We'll have to see what happens, but we know a winter storm warning is in effect for the entire state of New Hampshire. Started earlier this afternoon. It's going to last until tomorrow night, and those highest snow totals are expected for parts of Maine and New Hampshire. So we're in New Hampshire's White Mountains. this is ski country. And interestingly, this week is really the projected closing date for a lot of those New England ski resorts. Some people are wondering if this latest snowpack could change things, but regardless, it seems like a lot of people are taking the storm seriously. I've talked to a few people who said they were spending this afternoon running their last errands they need to get done before this storm really ran.
Well, we were in the grocery store this morning and somebody said it was going to be a real storm. And it doesn't seem like much so far. I'm kind of in the mood for spring now. But if we get snow, it's okay. We love the snow.
Yeah, we are in April after all, so kind of a tease. Earlier this week we had warmer temperatures. Now things are dipping again. We've got another storm to maybe close out the season. We'll have to see what happens, but it's not just snow we're going to be watching out for. The winds are going to be a big part of this story too. That could lead to outages in the overnight hours, which never fun. So something we're going to be keeping our eye on as the system gets going, guys.
Yeah, tough travel conditions up there in northern New England, but maybe we get this snow in just in time for some last weekend of skiing. Katie Byrne there in Plymouth, New Hampshire. We'll check in when those snowflakes start falling.
Jane, why not, right? Beating the buzzer on the ski season. Look at this, though. Heavy rain drenching coastal areas from D.C. all the way up to New York. Up next, we'll have Fox Weather's Nick Koser from one of the soggiest spots here in the Big Apple. That's when Fox Weather Now comes right back. But first, a look at your regional forecast.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Virginia.
At Rue La La, feel like $1 million without paying the price.
There is one new special marine warning.
Continues now with Channel 2's Richard Elliott live in Conyers with a downed tree that Richard people are calling a miracle.
Yeah, this is that 100-year-old pecan tree. The wind blew through, toppled it over. Somehow it missed every house around here. Now, it was headed toward Miss Doreen Williams' house. That greenhouse right there was headed right for it, but the pecan tree in her own front yard kind of deflected it just enough that it missed. Now, she told me her husband actually wanted to cut down her pecan tree. She said no, and now she's awfully glad.
It didn't. That's right.
A little divine providence, maybe?
That's what I said. I looked at that branch that was so close to the window and I thought, that's a miracle.
Now, it did do a little bit of damage to the house, very, very minimal damage, but look at all the branches up against the window. Didn't even break the window. It did, however, unfortunately, she didn't escape unscathed. It did damage her daughter's car. We're live in Rockdale County. Richard Elliott, Channel 2 Action News.
Are you ready to meet your
Brad, we just learned that this tornado left 2 people hurt at least and damaged at least 30 homes. I want to show you behind me here because you can see where on Hearst Road Southwest, a team is restringing power lines after trees crashed down during this. Rockdale County Emergency Management is part of that team assessing the damage, and they still have more ground to cover this afternoon, so the number of homes. This is indeed tornado damage, although the National Weather Service is still calculating the strength and the distance it traveled. Emergency management says the people who were hurt were in cars and homes. Trees hit them, but they are okay.
So we are just very, very, very grateful to have the first responder team that we did, and luckily we had a pretty good heads up that this line was coming, and we were able to do what we could in terms of preparedness.
Here at Fire Station 6, a Salvation Army team will be providing food to people who need it in the next couple of minutes. And also the Red Cross will be providing tarp and cleanup kits to people who need help with their homes. Reporting live in Conyers, Courtney Francisco, Channel 2 Action News.
All right, Courtney, thank you. I know the folks from the National Weather Service there that you've been talking to during the survey, they're going to give us the final report later today, the strength and the path. I know you'll have that for us. Thank you very much.
Has that tag from the Weather Service possible. Radar indicated rotation, heavy rain, some lightning with this, but also some gusty winds up to about 60 miles per hour. We'll be watching those. Then we move farther off to the south. This has been a potent line of storms finding its way right over the Sunshine Skyway Bridge now, connecting Manatee County over to Pinellas. It's right over Old Tampa Bay and moving into places like South Tampa. So that's a storm that has gusty winds. You take I-4 off to the east, and some of that rain is moving into Orlando as well. You can see that with a lookout toward I-4. Central Florida dealing with some powerful storms. We're watching them. We'll keep you updated. Let's head back to the north. A look at Coney Island, where coastal flood warnings are in place. The area experiencing onshore wind gusts between 40 up to 60 miles per hour. And this is expected to last through tomorrow as a nor'easter lashes the northeast. That sprawling storm system transferring some of its energy to the coast, giving rise to a nor'easter. Let's head out to Brighton Beach in Brooklyn, New York. That's where we find Fox Weather's Nick Koser.
There is one new
Nick,
severe thunderstorm warning for Virginia.
I know we're waiting in a sense for some of the high tide cycles. That one during the overnight hours tonight seems to be of greatest concern.
Yeah, we've got one high tide happening in just about an hour at 4 o'clock, or a couple minutes before 4. High tide will be up here. And then at 4:20 overnight into the early morning hours of tomorrow. And with the wind shifting around like it is, different parts of the coast will be under siege when it comes to water and the potential for inundation. Right now, for this afternoon, it looks like the south shore of Nassau County and then the western portion of the Long Island Sound. So coastal areas along the Bronx and the southern portion of Westchester County could see some minor to even moderate coastal flooding during this high tide cycle. And then it looks like the shores of Jamaica could potentially get it early tomorrow morning. But this is really a three-pronged system. We've got the rain coming down. As you can see, it's picked up since the last time that I checked in with you about an hour ago. We've got the coastal concern, which we already talked about, and the wind is howling. That has also picked up since about an hour ago as well. I do want to show you what the surf looks like here on Brighton Beach, and during the last hour or so, certainly the surf is up as a result of that wind picking up as well. And in reading that coastal flood warning that you mentioned, Ian, the verbiage in there saying that between 3 and 7 foot waves expected to break along the coastline up and down the metro area here through tonight and into tomorrow morning. So coastal erosion certainly going to be an issue. And you can see there are some big waves crashing down right now, and a 2 to potentially 3 foot inundation of water could mean business for some of these beach towns up and down that I-95 corridor. Off in the distance, you can see the amusement park there, Coney Island, or I should say, you can hardly see it off in the distance because of how murky and how rainy it is out there. And the boardwalk, of course, very, very quiet today. One dude walking past us right now, and he's about the only soul that I've seen out here. So obviously the weather having a big impact on what you would typically see up and down the boardwalk here in Coney Island. And yeah, you said it. It has been super soggy here, Ian. About an inch to an inch and a half of rain has already fallen here. And it looks like another 1 to 2 inches of rain could fall as we get into tomorrow and Friday. So the Northeast here just can't shake the rain. We've gotten off to one of the wettest starts on the books, and I'll tell you what, if April showers equal May flowers, we're about to see one beautiful May around here.
I hope
because
so.
we have seen plenty of rain so far.
Maybe the most beautiful May ever, Nick. As you said, it hasn't really been picturesque in the lead up to this, and now the worst of it is still to come. You live in a flood-prone spot in the Northeast. Be mindful of this over the next 24, 36 hours. Nick Koster, thanks. Jane?
The final frontier in America's pastime. They're teaming up with the eclipse just days away. NASA representatives have been throwing out the first pitches for several games. That's baseball games, of course, leading up to the eclipse. And Fox Weather's Brandy Campbell joins us from Miami. Brandy, you're headed up to Rochester, New York. Lots of fun in the days ahead. And that's where, of course, the Washington Nationals minor league team, they play on the diamond there, the Rochester Red Wings, but I hear that they're making a bit of a name change for the weekend.
Take a look here. We have been seeing storms develop. Daytona Beach, Deltona, Kissimmee. Also seeing to the west of you some of the thunder and lightning, also to the west of Tampa right now. So we are keeping our eyes on that portion of the country. A lot of snow around the Great Lakes here, and we have been seeing snow for Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota right now. You can see all of that snow continuing to work through. And with that, nationally, we are watching some of those showers. And in the Northwest, we're actually watching, we have a little outlook here where we do have the potential to see some strong storms. Boise, you are included in that. So enough instability where we can see some of those strong storms out there for today. We are, again, tracking some of that rain around Boston and New York, New Haven, and Binghamton. And so let's all continue to track, again, the potential for more of that rain as we do head to Kentucky, where you can see that hail coming down.
Yeah, hail coming down in Kentucky, very strong winds, very intense storms overall that we've been tracking for you here. And all of this energy has now moved its way off to the east, and we're seeing heavy rain closer to the northeast coast. We've seen rain reports the last 24 hours, about 1 inch to 2.5 inches overall. And then all these soaking showers that just continue and have been over the last few hours, New York City, Hartford, Boston, up through Buffalo. That's why we hold on to all of these watches in place for flooding across Binghamton, Williamsport, even out through New York City and Long Island, stretching down through D.C. for that additional rain that's going to move through and that potential for flooding. Now, if you're in D.C., Baltimore, up through New York City and Long Island, you are still under level 2 out of 4 flooding risk across these areas. Richmond, up through Morgantown, you'll still be more isolated in nature, but possible. The coastal areas are where we're really focusing on to see the heaviest of that rainfall, snow farther to the north up into New England, and then just spotty showers over the next couple of days. So you're not really getting a full long stretch of a break. You'll get periodic breaks in this activity, but it is still going to stay more active across the region, where a couple inches of rainfall is going to be possible, especially out across the Cape, and those coastal areas will be dealing with some of that flood concern. We've got some of these coastal flood watches, advisories, warnings that'll remain in effect through your Thursday morning time frame. Wave heights are also going to be more heightened as this low just ramps up that activity along the Atlantic coast. So around 10 o'clock, Boston looking at about 2-foot waves. You'll see those waves increase as that low moves closer to you by Thursday morning. 3 to 4-foot waves possible, and then 5-foot waves closer to Montauk in New York. But we want to take you out to Dallas, Texas, bring Jackie back in because we've got the potential to see some strong storms by the next couple of days.
Yeah, that's right. Dallas looking pretty good out there right now. But as we do take a look at your forecast jet stream, we are going to see some changes. So there's that low. We've got a trough coming in that's going to really swing into the plains. That's going to increase the severe threat. That is going to combine with
There is
moisture.
one new
We'll have
severe
plenty of
thunderstorm
moisture.
warning for
We'll
North
also have
Carolina.
instability. So with all of that combined, we're going to see just enough instability where we can get some of those strong storms. This is for Saturday from Kearney to Wichita to Oklahoma City to Tulsa there. And then as we take a look at the forecast, you can see those showers and thunderstorms. That's through your Saturday night into Sunday. And then that all moves off to the east there. So Saturday's high temps, we are going to see lots of those 70s, even a couple 80s and 60s. And you're going to be above average. So we will have enough instability where we can see those strong storms. A second wave is going to dig further to the south. That's going to be for Monday. And that is going to combine with
There is
more
one new
moisture.
special
So on
marine
Monday,
warning.
we do have the potential from Dallas to Paris, Texarkana, Tyler, Shreveport, Wichita Falls to see more of those strong storms. Wichita, Saturday's the day we are tracking the potential for some of that rain, and we'll of course keep you updated. We'll be right back. Your Central Regional forecast. That's 30 past the hour every hour. That's coming up next. Get all that lightning.
I suffer with psoriatic arthritis and psoriasis. I was on a journey for a really long time to find some relief. Cosentix works for me.
Cosentix helps real people get real relief from the symptoms.
Parts of the Northeast. Not before, though, this line of storms finds its way to the coast, bringing with it more of the concerns that we've had for days. You look at New York City, it's soggy, has been, it'll get worse this evening and tonight. Orlando, you've got some of those showers and thunderstorms working on through now. A rough go of it along I-4 as we move on through the next couple of hours. Let's get you a live look at Jacksonville and Virginia Beach, both sides of your screen there. You've got some of this heading in your direction. Quieter for now as that severe weather is through what's left of the day today on the East Coast down through the peninsula of Florida. So this, after I mentioned, these storms devastated the plains all the way through the Ohio Valley point south. You can see what could have been a tornado working Charleston, West Virginia. They had really huge wind gusts. This was in Kingfisher, Oklahoma, what appears to be a tornado off in the distance there, all the same system, which is now bringing storms over to the East Coast. Let's take a look at what we can expect for the rest of the day, in addition to what's happening right now, which is multiple severe thunderstorm warnings in this overall tornado watch. We've seen most of these storms behaving in similar ways, an indicator that, yeah, we've got more of that wind shear, lots of low-level moisture, not as much storm energy or instability as compared to the last couple of days. But with that, we still have enough to generate some of these strong and severe storms. And you see that, a handful of severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, some of these working through Virginia, Caroline, King William, King and Queen counties, with wind gusts possible along the leading edge of this, up around 60 miles per hour. The indicator for some hail may be up to the size of a quarter. We're not seeing those big-time indicators like we had with some of the storms in days past that produce a giant hail in spots, up to softball size to get this week started back in Texas. Farther off to the south, this is in North Carolina, Franklin, Nash, and Wake counties included with a severe thunderstorm warning. Same concerns here, primarily related to some very gusty winds and some locally heavy rain. Then you move farther off to the south. This line of storms is almost parallel to I-4 now. Sub-severe. We don't have any active severe thunderstorm warnings, but these are all strong from Daytona Beach right through Orlando, down across Tampa Bay, right to the mouth of Tampa Bay, Anna Maria Island, the Sunshine Skyway right there. That is a brutal drive across the mouth of the bay right now. April has been wasting no time with a major of severe weather to start off the month. You can see some of the damage here. It was in Anderson County, Kentucky. That's between Lexington and Louisville. Moving north, a tornado that formed in West Union, Ohio. That was a tornado-warned storm that resulted in the destruction of at least one house in that area. And staying in the Buckeye State, you can see where tornado damage here. That's hanging on. That's right along the border with Kentucky. Neighboring Indiana also seeing some action with a twister appearing in Georgetown. That's just outside of Louisville. Jane, we had this busy day to get the week started, and then yesterday, north to south, the Ohio Valley points south from there, one after another. Severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings.
Yeah, wasn't that drone video out of India just incredible?
Yeah.
To see it from that vantage point. But yeah, I mean, it was an incredible stretch of 2 days, over 400 total warnings that we were on the air for, of course. And most of the tornadic threat you can see, I mean, really set up across the Ohio Valley. Warnings that stretched further down to the south. But overall, I mean, we've had the tornadic threat that's been in there, but the wind, I think, was really impressive, especially Monday on into Tuesday, and then those hail threats that got bigger, you know, through the afternoon on Monday.
Yeah, wild to consider, too, that over 400 alerts that have been issued, that's only through midnight last night, so it doesn't even include the busyness of today, which isn't quite to the level of the last couple, thankfully.
Right.
But we're not done with the active weather just yet. 9 confirmed tornadoes. This is a number that's going to go up.
I was about to say, this number, the survey teams, they have been on the ground when, of course, we're talking to Nicole Valdez in Kentucky. Their teams were working overtime today, going along the path, trying to get in those surveys so we can put ratings on these tornadoes. Right now, EF0 to EF1, so lower on the scale, you know, 105-mile-per-hour winds top off, but still you can see the damage done. But look at this, is just straight line winds, which is incredible. This is why we say, you know, wind damage can be just as devastating.
Yeah, this was a Boeing segment of storms through the northeastern part of Kentucky. It rolled right into West Virginia, right through Charleston. And Jane, the power outages in the wake of that just lit up.
I believe
and you can understand why in these places when you had these 90, even 100 plus mile per hour.
You saw the video of that poor University of Kentucky
Yes. Yep.
just getting blown over by the wind. I mean, the power of these storms was incredible. We had golf ball sized hail reported in droves yesterday. West Virginia, Indiana, Mississippi, all the way down that cold front, that line of storms the day before, though.
Yeah, you had the wind at UK, and then that was at University of Indiana, Bloomington, golf ball size hail falling across the area.
Impressive. And then softball sized hail on Monday with those storms back across Texas, where you would expect bigger hailstones out over the plains, but to keep those storms going is incredible.
Part of the legacy of this storm is that it gives rise to a developing nor'easter that's been lashing the Northeast with rain, wind, eventually snow. Jane, this is going to be a long duration storms. Some of these areas which didn't get much snow when it was actually winter have snow through what's left of this week.
Yeah, the northern New England snow, buckle up. Tomorrow is going to be a really tough day for travel. This evening and overnight tonight, as far as the rain goes, that's when we see the worst of it on the 95 corridor. I think tonight's going to be one of those nights that's even difficult to sleep because you're going to hear the howling of that wind as this storm kind of slingshots out of the mid-Atlantic, the Delmarva. It eventually sets up off the New England coastline, and because it stalls out a bit, it kind of hangs out. There's no driving force to keep it going. That's why we see the biggest dump of snow across the northern tier. That cold air finally starts to tap into this storm. Winter storm warnings up through Thursday for a foot and more expected. Here's how it shapes up. The heaviest of the rain with this low pressure system comes tonight. We start to see it taper off as all of this moisture gets thrown up to the north side. That cold air gets pulled in from the northeast, and that's when that snow dump really begins come tomorrow morning, lasts all through tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. Now, eventually this low pressure system starts to lose its punch, but it hangs around, and because of that, we just keep this spurts of energy across the region through the day Thursday on into Friday. Friday overall, lesser impacts, but the potential for scattered showers and snow showers, that continues to close out our week. Thankfully, though, the wind's relaxing. The worst of the wind comes tonight and into tomorrow. 1 to 2 inches of rain, a possibility for places like New York City out onto Long Island, where again, it's already so wet, which is why that flood potential going into this evening and overnight is at its greatest. And then again, an additional 1 to 2 feet, a possibility of snow across the whites and greens. Ian.
All right, that storm that spurred yesterday's barrage of severe weather across the heartland also has a cold side, and as a result, parts of the Midwest, including Chicago, saw some flakes at least. We've got some of the video there. Let's go out to Fox Weather's Max Gordon, who's in Chicago. And Max, some snowflakes, more than most Chicagoans wanted to see, but this wasn't something that added up to a whole lot.
No, we haven't seen really any accumulation here in Chicago. That's due in part to the temperature. It's about 38 degrees right now. And yeah, just the ground is a little too warm for anything to stick. We've kind of seen the rain and snow alternate on and off. It's kind of now a rain-snow mix, a real kind of nasty mix. And you can see some of the buildings along the Chicago skyline disappearing into that rain snow mix, into the clouds there. You can see the Hancock Tower rising up into the cloud cover. Kind of a pretty sight, even though it has been a nasty morning commute, and likely it's going to be a nasty evening commute as well, especially tough for folks who have to walk to work. We spoke to one guy who is keeping a positive attitude about things. Take a listen.
It's a mix between snow and rain, so I don't complain. If it was pure snow, it would be colder, so you just need to be ready with your equipment and then you're good to go.
Now, one place that had some very tough conditions yesterday, that was down in Kankakee County, where there were strong winds, and the National Weather Service says there were 2 tornadoes that touched down. Luckily, nobody was injured in these tornadoes. One of them narrowly missed a mobile home park. It hit a water treatment facility, doing some damage there. Here's one woman who went to check out the damage.
I've never seen nothing like it, and debris everywhere. I mean, it's like a mile down the road.
Yeah, some scary scenes down there in Kankakee County, about 50 miles to the south of downtown Chicago. But here in the Chicagoland, well, the talk is all about this rain-snow mix, this nasty afternoon that we're having here. We're already seeing some impacts, at least for baseball fans. The White Sox-Braves game, that has been postponed today, so no baseball for the folks down on the south side. We're going to see if the Cubs game is going to still be on later this evening. That should be kicking off in the 6 p.m. hour local time. But with this rain and snow still coming down, I'm not sure there's any ball that's going to be had here. Back to you.
Yeah, Max, the Mets are already rained out. So on the East Coast, we're dealing with some of the same problems. Max Gordon, thank you. Taiwan was.
Folks have been tagging me on social media videos about not being able to eat crabs this summer, and there's going to be all these things in the water. You heard it from the governor. You heard it from our MDE folks. There is no contamination in the water. They will continue to monitor and do the great work that they do every day, especially in a moment like this, to make sure that we're protecting our bay, protecting our wildlife, and the health of our community. And I also want to continue to center everything that we do around those families, from the families of the workers and those who continue to not be able to work because of the port, who are reeling and understanding that they have an unthinkable and they can't know what the future is like for them. To that end, I do want to lift up something that the City Board of Estimates did this morning to approve a transfer of $1 million for wage subsidies for businesses impacted by the port closure. Be working through the Baltimore Civic Fund, which operated a small business wage subsidy program during the COVID-19 pandemic, and this will resemble that effort. I want to be clear about a few things. First and foremost, this is not to trump anything that any of our partners are and how we're all working together, but from the governor, the president, the senator, the county executive, myself. We have to talk about this publicly because the Board of Estimates is a public body. And when you have a contract that comes up, we have the responsibility to lay that out. But this is also just an initial step that we can do, as my county executive partner always says, to help start to fill the gaps. But it's an important step. As we move in the coming days, we'll be talking about more assistance that the City of Baltimore can help to offer, but we want to ensure, as always, that everyone is moving together, and everyone that works for my team, Mr. Governor, knows that's exactly how we will do this, because we all have to continue to be together as we have been since the very first second to make sure that we recover and build back stronger in the only way that we know how in Maryland and Baltimore, and that is together. Thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to my county executive partner, County Executive Olszewski.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. Thank you, Governor, for your sustained leadership, for being clear-eyed about the mission in front of us, and for your singular focus in supporting the incredible teams that are doing this work. Thank you to the Unified Command leadership. Thank you to Senator Cardin and our incredible federal delegation. Thanks to President Biden for his unwavering support, and incredible partners locally, like Mayor Scott and County Executive Pittman. Just a few updates from Baltimore County's perspective as we continue to support the work that others are doing. As we continue to think about and pray for those impacted families, I do want to give my thanks to the Immigrant Affairs leadership at the state level, in the city of Baltimore and in Baltimore County. Especially want to give a shout out to Juliana Valencia Banks and our team in Baltimore County. But together, these offices are doing incredible work, and we are supporting them as they support these families and help transition them to dedicated case management support to navigate a very complex set of supports.
There is one new tornado warning for Virginia.
We thank them for their work. We also continue to support the SBA site at the Dundalk Renaissance Corporation in Dundalk, our temporary site, and we'll continue supporting the governor and the SBA as they seek out and land a more permanent site rooted in the community. In addition, we are doing direct outreach in partnership with the ILA, and I'm going to thank their leadership on coordination for both UI and other services that their members may need. And we also continue to provide year-round support at our East Point site for UI and other services for affected families. I'd say even as we continue to respond to the immediate crisis, we know that we can and we must come back even stronger. So we will continue to engage alongside the governor and others with our communities, our port workers, and more. And we will do whatever we can to support them in that. So in the meantime, please keep those impacted, the workers, our first responders, those doing the salvage work, and the families who lost their loved ones in this area. Thank you. I'll turn this back over to the governor.
Well, I'm thankful we have a completion.
This is a tornado warning.
That they
deserve right now. I've been clear on my guidelines and my guardrails on the budgetary process. We're now going to be going through the details, but I know that I'm looking forward to having something to make it to my desk that I can sign and move forward on. Well, I've been clear about my guidelines when you look at the budget that we initially presented, and so we're now going to go back through the details to see what the coordinated response has been. But I look forward to giving people of the state the certainty that they need right now.
Thank you. There's a few things that we're pursuing. Obviously, foremost is the rebuilding of the bridge, but we are basically looking at transit options, getting people to ride share, things of that sort to try to bring down some of the demand. And then we are reviewing the bottlenecks, if we see any now, where we're looking at our traffic signaling system, for instance, signage, and things of that. Major construction obviously takes time, so we have to do these softer things first, but then focus on the larger project of rebuilding the bridge.
Yeah, we have a continued examination, and it's part of the reason that we have over 3,000 feet of boom.
New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 3:43 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Center Cross, or 8 miles north of King and Queen Courthouse, moving northeast at 60 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 3:43 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Center Cross, or 8 miles north of King and Queen Courthouse, moving northeast at 60 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 3:43 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Center Cross, or 8 miles north of King and Queen Courthouse, moving northeast at 60 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 3:43 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Center Cross, or 8 miles north of King and Queen Courthouse, moving northeast at 60 miles per hour. End of warning.
Passageways is using those dollars, that $60 million that we got from the federal government. So that process is already underway. We have the contractor out there working, obviously, as part of Unified Command, in partnership with them in terms of where they go next. So that is already underway. We have several meetings a day with Federal Highway as we're thinking about the next portion, in effect, of the request that we will make. And then there'll be a large portion request after that, which is the bridge itself. We're working through different progressive design build types of thinking to do that, which is probably the quickest way to get the project delivered. We have to work through environmental issues and process issues that is not your concern, it's my concern to get that done as quickly as possible, and that's what we're doing behind the scenes right now so that we're ready to go as well.
Yeah, so we continue to meet with the longshoremen, and we know that not only in addition to the fact that there is the main levers of unemployment that they are able to take advantage of, we continue to work with them and also work with outside partners to provide greater levels of support and thinking what exactly does that look like. You know, we know that for some longshoremen, they have had a chance to work over this past week, some of them working around the clock to be able to help manage operations that are still taking place support. And we know for some, they have not worked since the collapse. And we know that even for the ones that were working, there's still a measure of uncertainty that still exists for the future. for how they're thinking about their daily pace and their daily cadence. So we continue to maintain and stay in close contact. We continue to work with both our federal partners.
There is one new tornado warning for North Carolina.
To be able to devise long-term solutions for what it's going to mean for our longshoremen. But the basic elements of unemployment they can still take advantage of, but we're still continuing to look at other options and other supports because we understand the damage that this has done to the.
This is a tornado warning.
New tornado warning issued for North Carolina. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 3:50 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 11 miles southwest of Halifax, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for North Carolina. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 3:50 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 11 miles southwest of Halifax, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. End of warning.
So the channel depths for the northern alternate channel are 11 feet, and for the southern alternate channel they are 14 feet. So the commercial vessels that are transited through there are barges. Most of them have been empty at this point, and the tugs that push them, and some tugs that come in and out of the port as well. Some of those there's one of those with a fuel barge that was empty, another fuel barge transited out that was empty, those without the cargo, but it's more shallow draft barges and shallower draft tugs at this point. Well, that third channel is dependent upon the salvage operations, and we're doing those as soon as possible, that we're going to continue to do them safely.
I think they're seeking to cap liabilities. It wasn't surprising. We were prepared for it, and we hope for a speedy investigation as to what happens. And the thing that we know is that if there are people who need to be held to account for what happened, they need to be held to account.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Virginia.
Good afternoon. Let me start by, as always, praying for the victims of the Key Bridge collapse and their loved ones. To all the families, we want to say that for each and every one of you, you're in our hearts, you're in our thoughts, and you continue to be in our prayers. Están en nuestros corazones. están en nuestros pensamientos y están en nuestras oraciones. 1 week ago today, the Key Bridge collapsed. 1 week later, these families are still living a nightmare, and we need to respect their call for privacy. I also want to, as always, recognize our first responders.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Virginia.
All of you. Thank you. This morning, I received a briefing from Unified Command. Our collective response continues. And today, I'll provide a few updates on the 4 directives that I've issued to our team. As a reminder, they are, first, we need to give closure to these families. The second, we need to clear the channel and open vessel traffic to the port. Third, we need to take care of our people.
There is one new special marine warning.
Zero red.
We now know it was an EF2 tornado that tore through Conyers with maximum winds of 115 miles per hour.
From the stories of survival,
sound like a freight train,
to the significant cleanup ahead.
It's gone. It's flat.
We are covering the devastation with live Severe Weather Team 2 coverage
And take a look at this. More than 600 pounds of meth is off the streets. This hour, the DEA on the discovery.
Live, local, late breaking. This is Channel 2 Action News at 4 p.m. Coverage you can count on.
And in just the last hour, we learned that it was an EF2 tornado that hit Conyers, winds reaching 150 miles per hour. Good afternoon. This is Channel 2 Action News at 4. I'm Justin Farmer.
Hello, I'm Wendy Corona, and we launched News Chopper 2 just to give you a look at the devastation in Conyers. You can see where homes have been damaged, trees tossed to the ground. Emergency management officials tell us 2 people were hurt when that tornado hit. Thankfully, not seriously, and fortunately for this community, no deaths to speak of.
We also want to show you what the damage looks like from News Drone 2. This is Briarwood Circle, Rockdale County. Oh, that's a lot of work. You can see where a tree just nearly split that roof in half as the sun came up and began to show all the damage. The cleanup is already well underway.
So we are in Rockdale County with live severe weather Team 2 coverage, including our chief meteorologist, Brad Nitz, and a team of reporters and photographers. But we begin with Channel 2's Courtney Francisco. She is on Briarwood Circle, where Courtney showed that drone footage.
Yeah, Wendy, I'm here on ground zero, and I'll walk you through here to show you where Rockdale County Emergency Management says the tornado touched down first. This up here, that's the home hit hardest. The roof is gone. I spoke with survivors down here. The team is surveying the damage and tracking the number of people hurt. With the hum of repairs in the background, families described the sound that caused it all.
It was really loud, but it just was a few seconds. I mean, it just was like that. And then, quiet.
Amanda and Ken Corley live in the neighborhood the tornado hit hardest, off McDaniel Mill Road. Each direction you turn, you see trees twisted, ripped from roots, and parts of homes blown away.
The first response that we have is, thank you, God, we're still alive.
We're okay.
The second response is, how is everybody else doing?
At least 2 people were hurt when trees fell on homes and cars, but not seriously. Everyone survived, according to the Rockdale County Emergency Management Agency's deputy director.
Luckily, we had a pretty good heads up that this line was coming, and we were able to do what we could in terms of preparedness.
She said at least 30 homes have major damage, mostly in the McDaniel Mill and Millstead areas. While crews cleared roads and repaired power lines, another group handed out food, tarp, and tools at the Fire Station 6. Neighbors and strangers stopped to check in on the Corleys, known around here for their encouraging yard signs. The tornado did not touch them, but the quick response
There is one new
touched
tornado
Corley.
warning for Virginia.
Then people started coming, checking on us and offering help. You know, then the grief kind of kicks in.
Still a lot of tree removal to be done here and a lot of power line repairs in the future. Reporting live from Rockdale County, Courtney Francisco, Channel 2 Action News.
You can clearly hear and see the pain with folks dealing with that. And Courtney, thank you. Channel 2's Elizabeth Rollins continues our live severe weather Team 2 coverage today. Now live at South Hicks Circle in Old Town Conyers. Elizabeth, you've been following the tree service crews all day.
Yeah, certainly it's been very busy, and they're still busy. In fact, this massive tree fell on this house earlier. Now they've chopped it all up. Check out this root system. I'm 5'5". This root system is at least as tall as I am.
The recovery process is already underway in Rockdale County after a confirmed tornado touched down overnight, taking down trees and damaging dozens of homes.
Trying to put these homeowners' minds at ease. They're dealing with a lot right now.
Tree service crews and disaster response teams spent most of the day tackling damage on South Hicks Circle.
We're just out here trying to make people's lives a little bit better and clean up after the storm.
Neighbors never expected to be hunkering down overnight, much less the sight they would face in the aftermath of the storm.
I think I'm still coming down from the shock, even though you see these natural disasters and this crazy weather stuff on a daily basis on TV. You never think that'll happen to you.
In just a few hours, service crews have not only restored homes, but also restored hope for so many.
A lot of people just don't know what to do when it comes to stuff like this.
And amazingly, you can see the roof line looks untouched. That tree barely just touched and landed on that home. Luckily, of course, some other folks were not as lucky. And of course, coming up all new at 5, we're going to be talking to roof experts and why they say
even the smallest thing can make some major damage. I'm putting that together in the next hour. We're live in Conyers, Rockdale County. Elizabeth Rollins, Channel 2 Action News.
Elizabeth, thank you. Now, the system that caused this damage across Georgia also left a path of destruction in places such as Tennessee, Illinois, and Kentucky. Look at the devastation.
There is one new severe thunderstorm
we'll have more of this in our
warning
next
for
15
Maryland.
minutes.
Our live severe weather Team 2 coverage continues now with our chief meteorologist, Brad Nitz, live in Severe Weather Center 2.
Brad, you were here. I mean, you had a long day and a long night with meteorologist Brian Monahan, taking all of us through the storm.
Well, we've got to be here when the weather threatens, of course, and Brian and I tracked the tornado as it moved through Rockdale County and Conyers. Another tornado warning in the pre-dawn hours this morning in Greene County and portions of Oglethorpe County. Have not got any reports of any touchdowns or damage there. That's good news. The severe weather threat has moved well to our east, of course. I am still tracking a few isolated showers that are spinning around an upper level low to the north. So a few light showers in far north Georgia. But the main story here, I think, for us today, rest of today and tomorrow, is the strong wind gust, gusting now to 28 miles an hour in Atlanta. And the winds will stay breezy through this evening and tonight, and then even stronger winds tomorrow. A gust 30 to 40 miles an hour, not out of the question tomorrow. That could knock down some trees. Now, the weather on the way for us, a couple of isolated showers in North Georgia, mainly north of the metro area this evening. Windy and much cooler in the days ahead. We've got some lows in the 30s. I'll have that updated 5-day forecast for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Brad, thank you. So News Chopper 2 here, a live look. News Chopper 2 just arriving over Conyers a few moments ago. And, I mean, again, an illustration of what happened last night. We're going to keep checking on these live images for you and showing you the storm cleanup, how people are recovering. We'll be with this all afternoon long here on Channel 2 Action News.
Now new at 4 o'clock.
This is a
There is
tornado
one new
warning.
severe thunderstorm warning for North Carolina. New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 4:03 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Haynesville, or near Callao, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning. There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Virginia. New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 4:03 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Haynesville, or near Callao, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. End of warning.
To the young man, it looks like everybody is okay today. In addition to the state of emergency, we have 12 county declarations of emergencies. They include Anderson, Bourbon, Boyd, Clark, Elliott, Fayette, Greenup, Henry, Jefferson, Jessamine, Kenton, and Union. On top of that, we have 7 cities that we have local states of emergencies that have been declared. They include Ashland, Catlettsburg, Flatwoods, Greenup, Louisville, Mount Vernon, and Raceland. We currently have around 15,132 power outages. That is down from 32,732. Let me tell you,
There
these
is one new
companies get
tornado
after,
warning for Virginia.
and getting their people in after these storms and really work hard. We can also share good news on the communications front. We have cell service that was down in Greenup, Carter, and Boyd counties. A major fiber line has been restored, and a majority of cell service is back. We believe this outage was connected to one of two major power lines down on interstates. We had one on I-75 around the 104-mile marker for a period of time, and then we had another on I-64, I believe, in Greenup County. And the work on that may have led to a severing of a line that impacted cell phone service. But all of that is back up now, and I was impressed by how quickly those major power lines were able to be pulled off the interstate, and while they created some long backups, those stoppages were not nearly as long as might have been expected by that type of occurrence. We're also aware that Catlettsburg and Boyd County has wastewater operating under emergency generator power. In Henry County, the main booster that feeds Eminence and Newcastle has lost power and has been restored with no loss of water to customers, so that's back up and running, and it doesn't look like there was ever water loss. Counties are starting the federal individual assistance and the public assistance damage assessments today. Remember, there are two different systems. This one, I'm guessing, will meet the public assistance damage assessment. It's pretty widespread, but we'll see. It's got to meet that threshold. Remember, individual assistance is a pretty high bar. We've met it in the floods and the tornadoes. We'll see on this one. It's going to be a pretty big effort on this one because, remember, it's statewide. A lot of the communities aren't even connected. So getting in reliable information will be really important to submitting that paperwork and seeing if we apply for individual assistance. So everyone should photograph all damages before cleaning up, and you need to report the damages that you sustained as a citizen to the local county emergency management officials. For questions on how to proceed with insurance after a disaster, you can also visit insurance.ky.gov. Interim Emergency Management Director Dustin Heiser is here to provide some additional details.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor, for having me here today. As many of you know,
this is a tornado warning.
New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 4:09 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Waverly, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. End of warning. There is one new special marine warning. New special marine warning. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 4:11 p.m. EDT. Strong thunderstorms were located along a line extending from 42 nm northeast of Daytona Beach Shores to Scottsmore to 12 nm west of Canaveral Groves to 27 nm west of Cocoa to 47 nm west of Rockledge, moving east at 40 knots. End of warning. There is one new tornado warning for Maryland. New tornado warning issued for Maryland. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 4:13 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Louisetta, or near Callao, moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. End of warning. New tornado warning issued for Virginia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 4:09 p.m. EDT. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Waverly, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. End of warning.
taking detailed notes, documenting damages helps assess the extent of the disaster. This also expedites the process of resources and will aid in your insurance claim process. We urge affected individuals and communities to prioritize documentation of damages to expedite recovery efforts effectively. In closing, I want to express my gratitude to all the first responders, volunteers, and agencies who are working tirelessly to support affected communities. As we navigate through the aftermath of this weather event, let's continue to stand together, support one another, rebuild stronger and more resilient communities. Thank you again for your attention and support during these challenging times. We remain committed to serving and safeguarding the people of Kentucky.
Thank you, Director Heiser. Two quick points on that. First, for individuals out there, why we're asking you to report your damages to the county EM director is because we need to reach a certain threshold of overall damage to our citizens if the federal government is going to provide individual assistance.
Over the last couple of hours here, tornado possible, indicating there is at least some rotation embedded within this. So we'll be watching all of these for any indications that that rotation is tightening up. Glad to report down in Florida. That's our other busy spot today. We don't have any active severe thunderstorm warnings. We're watching, though. We'll keep you updated. Only 4 days to go until America's total.
The statement I'm about to make is not about politics, but about policy. We are once again in a natural disaster, and a significant one, that we would not be able to respond to the way we have if the limitations in the current pending budget had been in the last budget. For the first time in this upcoming budget, the legislature is trying to limit the amount of resources that we can spend to respond to a natural disaster before calling them into a session. We were already over that amount before the tornadoes hit Trimble County and Carroll County, and Gallatin got hit by weather. We couldn't have opened General Butler State Park there. If we'd have needed National Guard, we might not have been able to bring them out. Pallets of water and others wouldn't have been able to help with. And this one, because you're about to hear some of what the Guard's doing, would have been the same thing. At least when you look at the way it's written, it would have required calling people in during the natural disaster, where it wouldn't have been safe to travel, and or a day or two after, and then how long it takes from there. I mean, we have to respond to an emergency in an emergent manner. And thankfully, we're able to do that right now because that type of law hasn't gone into effect. But it's really important as we think about the people that are out there that need help. We know that there are going to be people out there that need help in the future, too. All I'm asking for is the ability to help them in the short term, and I hope that we can get that fixed so that we always have the resources to help our neighbors when they've been knocked down. Next, we have some updates from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. Our transportation crews were monitoring weather conditions ahead of yesterday's storms. Crews jumped into action to help clear roads of large debris and to help manage traffic. A lot of the highway impacts were in central and eastern Kentucky. They included crashes involving large trucks or structures that were blown into roadways. I think we had a barn on a road. As of this morning, there are fewer than 10 blocked state roads due to down power lines or flooding. Two big ones that they include are Kentucky 3179 in Barron County, where a section of the road is washed away, and Kentucky 393 in Oldham County, as we're working to restore power lines near Oldham County High School. Once again, I get to report that the best National Guard in the entire country, and they won that award. It's not just what I believe, it's absolutely true. Went into service immediately. 14 members of the Kentucky Air National Guard's 123rd Civil Engineer Squadron helped clear roadways in Prospect early this morning. The airmen arrived with 4 trucks and multiple chains.
All right, you're just listening in there to Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear providing an update on all of those deadly severe storms taking place around that region as well. Of course, confirming the 1 fatality as well. And of course, we're getting some images in there from all over that region. I do want to put up just
hazards, and how far does the water go? Who's affected by this? And there's a difference between storm surge and wave action, too. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about storm surge as a hazard associated with any hurricane, for example, when it makes landfall along, say, the United States coastline, in a single day, it can create or cause the most deaths than any other hazard associated with a hurricane. That's more than the wind, that's more than damage from freshwater flooding. Storm surge is ultimately the leading cause of death in a single day from any given hurricane.
It's a big part of winds. People often focus on the winds. I know there's big changes coming this year. We've got the cone, but it also talks about the watches and the warnings. But the storm surge is something that maybe isn't put into the category of the storm, if you will, but it has huge implications.
Yeah, so really since 2017, in the National Hurricane Center, the Storm Surge Unit has worked to kind of basically take the surge out of that Saffir-Simpson scale, like disassociate the water from the wind, and we can now communicate really what the storm surge is as a standalone hazard. We can do that outside of the cone, outside of where that storm actually tracks, because the storm surge can be significant even well away from where that storm makes landfall.
Big improvements this year. I'm excited we could share the information with people as far as the new graphics, how it's going to impact. If I live in a coastal community or I'm a couple miles in, am I affected? And there are millions of miles of coastline up and down the United States, especially the Gulf Coast and the East Coast. This is going to be big.
Right. We have several products that kind of like can communicate or visualize what the storm surge impacts will be. We can highlight the peak storm surge, whether it be from Texas all the way to Maine, depending on where that storm actually tracks. We can also provide storm surge watches and warnings to really communicate the life-threatening along the coastline. And we also have the ability to illustrate what the potential or near worst case scenario of the storm surge could be if there are any changes in those storm categories.
And real quick, Cody, we're almost out of time, but it's different based on how deep the water is, and that plays a big impact, and also how strong the storm is and how tightly wound it is or how big it is also goes into it.
Yeah, it's really important to note that storm surge can be a factor of many different things, such as how strong the winds are, how fast or slow that storm moves, where that storm tracks, how large that storm actually is. All of those factors can contribute to how high the water is. And certainly along the Gulf Coast, they're especially vulnerable to storm surge given just how shallow the water is near the coastline.
Cody, it's great to see you. I appreciate all your time. I'm looking forward to meeting you and spending more time with you, rather, and finding out what else happens here tomorrow. Of course, the big announcement comes tomorrow. We're going to bring that as well as far as a look at the hurricane season. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. And Ian, I'll tell you what, a lot of conversation out here. A lot is going into this as far as research, presentations, and we're just getting started. We've got another day of it tomorrow. We'll bring you the latest with the look at the next hurricane season, because sea surface temperatures are a big part of this, and I think that's been a big part of the conversation out here today. So we'll see how this all goes tomorrow, but we'll send it back to you from South Padre Island, and we'll bring you the latest tomorrow.
Craig, we're looking forward to that, but exactly what you talked about with Cody there. This year, it's de-emphasize the cone, emphasize hazards that could impact people when telling the story. So that is the key.
Yeah.
Craig Herrera with NHC Storm Surge Specialist Cody Fritz. Thank you both. We'll be checking back in tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hey, the final frontier in America's pastime, they're teaming up for the eclipse. NASA representatives, they've been throwing out the first pitch for several games leading up to the eclipse. Fox Weather's Brandy Campbell joins us from Miami. And Brandy, you're in Miami now, but I understand you'll be traveling up to Rochester, New York. That's where the Nationals minor league team, the Rochester Red Wings for now, they're making a transformation leading up to the solar eclipse. They're even changing their name, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're the Red Wings for now. So just like the sun and moon will make its own little transformation, they are as well. So take a look at this video. It was a teaser to their new identity. So they were doing this video on what appears to look like the moon, very fun, but they announced the new logo, colors, and name for the team. So they're going to transform into the Rochester Moon Rocks, and their opponents, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, they will transform to the Space Pigs. The team's GM told me minor league baseball is all about making it fun for fans, and this will be an intergalactic battle between the teams.
Our entire community is going to be going gaga over the eclipse. And so many people that are coming to Rochester that weekend are here strictly because of the eclipse. So again, we want to give them a reason to come to a game while they're in town and help celebrate this event that's so monumental, not only for our community, but for the entire universe.
Okay. All right. In the meantime, they're also going to be hosting an event, Solarpalooza. So we'll be live there on Monday as well, joining all the fans looking to see the eclipse. Back to you, Ian.
That, Brandy, and I'm rooting for the home team, the Moon Rocks. Brandy Campbell, thank you.
Right.
By the way, shout out to their graphics team. What do they got? Marvel Studios building out their promo videos.
I know.
Pretty cool stuff. Brandy, we'll see you soon. Still watching some strong storms, some severe storms firing up from D.C. all the way down to Florida. We're tracking this dangerous line as it moves toward the East Coast. That and what we know about a developing nor'easter, which is expected to bring big snow to parts of northern New England. We'll have that when Fox Weather Now comes right back. But first, a look at your regional forecast.
Gilt has the designers that get your heart racing. Dior, Valentino, and more. All at insider prices, new every day. The looks you want are yours, at up to 70% off, but only if you act fast. Because 1 second they're here, and the next, they're gone. Designer sales at up to 70% off. Shop Gilt.com today.
That's $78.29.
Oh, I've only got $50. Take out the cheese puffs and the broccoli. I mean, who likes broccoli?
I don't. Only $22.87 to go.
It would be faster with the Empower app. Empower Cash Advance gives you up to $250 instantly. No late fees, interest, or credit checks.
I've got money. Keep the cheese puffs, but leave out the broccoli.
Get Empower Cash Advance from $10 to $250 instantly. Download the Empower app today.
I have, over my 30 years, seen many patients who have excessive sweating. It is very much a confidence killer. Excessive sweating is not something you have to live with. I recommend Carpe for my patients.
Carpe is by far the most effective antiperspirant I've ever used.
I love Carpe. Now I don't sweat.
Effective and affordable. It's a game changer.
Avoid expensive treatments, injections, and prescriptions. Your total body sweat solution is available at mycarpe.com. Visit today and get free shipping.
This is a Fox Weather Alert. Good afternoon. Thanks for being with us here on Fox Weather. Bottom of the hour, I'm Ian Oliver, and this is Fox Weather Now. We've been watching these powerful storms rolling across the eastern part of the country. The third and thankfully final day of the severe weather, but there's more to this storm, which we'll talk more about. Some of its energy transferring into a developing nor'easter, which brings big snow and a lot of rain to the northeast. That's the front. We're watching that for the severe weather potential. You see behind me some live pictures from New York City where you can draw your own conclusions of the forecast. That's what it looks like truly through what's left of the week. In Orlando, which is soggy as what's left of that line of storms finds its way across the peninsula. We've got some live pictures, Jacksonville and Virginia Beach. These are areas where we've been watching for that coverage of some stronger storms finding their way through. Back to the west of both of these spots, but we'll keep an eye on it as we move forward through what's left